Hi, I am Little Crochet. I run Triangle Strategy, New Game Plus, all endings. Today I'm going to go through a World Free of Sin in New Game Plus. It is one of the fastest routes in this game. Yeah, just under an hour. So, just a brief summary. Triangle Strategy is a tactics RPG released by Square Enix in early 2022. And it has a lot of similar gameplay to other tactical RPGs, and it's a standalone story. So we will start. I'll try to explain what I can with the strategies that get used when we come across it. It is hard to explain the first battle because it comes up within the first 45 seconds, but I'll do my best. So time will start when we load up this new game save file here. So 3, 2, 1, go. So the very first battle we will be introducing the main characters of the game. So there are 5 characters in the map which we can't place at all. And we will be doing what's called the Sunfall strat. So the Sunfall strat utilizes Frederica, who is a pink-haired Roselle, and she is a fire mage. So one of her abilities is to cast a large AoE on the battle, and that will clear out a lot of enemies because she gets a passive boost to her fire abilities if the weather is sunny. There are a couple of things that we are doing to boost that as well. So the other thing that you need to note of is that her ability gets stronger the more TP that gets used in the battle. So we have 5 TP on her right now, and we are going to place it here and turn her back, so that would just tempt these 2 bosses to come towards her. So you'll notice that it didn't fire off. We do need to use another ability to get that to fire off after this current turn. And that will do enough damage to get rid of most of the enemies there. And we're just going to finish them off with Serenoa, who is the protagonist. Yeah. And we'll be using a lot of items in the game. So we use this specifically to ice pellets. The rest of the game will be using fire pellets because they're just easier to obtain and they don't slow down movement. Just doing a bit of cleanup now with the remaining enemies. Alright, so that's the first battle cleared up. So yeah, like I said, it doesn't really give you a lot of time to explain much because it happens pretty quickly. But the basic gist of it is that there will be a bunch of story happening. With this specific cutscene, we can't skip it because there is a decision that needs to be made, or an item that we need to see that's important, or a character is leaving or joining the party. Most other cutscenes we can skip, which is nice. Otherwise, we just fast forward through to the dialogue. And just to explain some of the other things that are happening in that last battle there is that Frederica normally is a slow character because, she's a mage. They're not known to be fast. So we have equipped with her an item called the Vanguard Scarf, so that allows her to act first on every map that she is deployed. A lot of other accessories that are on other characters are magic boosting items, sorry. So all the mages generally have that item. Any physical attackers generally have a physical boosting and attack up item. And any other characters that are more utility rather than damaging. So they have speed boosting items so that they act faster on the initiative round and can do what they need to do quicker. The other characters that you would have seen in that first map. So Roland was on the horse and Benedict had the cane sword. Gila is a healer and she gets placed on battle maps by default, but she doesn't get used. Upcoming in the story right now is we are going to be heading to the crown city of Glenbrook. So the story takes place in 3 major city-states of Nozelia. So with us here is Glenbrook. To the north we have Esfros, and to the east we have Hyzant. So they each have different guiding principles, and here we are celebrating the unification of all 3 city-states and a joint mining venture. So we are doing a mock tourney here, and just you know, it's definitely not sizing up the rest of the capitals and their armies and how they go in battle. But it is a fairly simple map. It's fairly small, and we will be getting people in position here. So, little fun fact, because Roland was part of our party, we had him equipped with some accessories, but during that joining just then, in that cutscene, the game counted him as leaving and then rejoining, so it unequipped his accessories that we had before. So we're introducing a couple of other characters here, so we're going to be using a couple more abilities before we get started. But all of the enemies are nicely lined up for us so that we can do what we need to do and chip them down. So here we have Nav, another mage. We forced him to move sooner than normal. Here we have Anna. She will often just be throwing items because she has a unique ability to act twice on her turn. Going to be finishing up the round again with Roland, just finishing up his last 2 boss battles. Something that happens every time a boss dies, they tend to have a small monologue before they die, which is just need to skip forward. So what we have coming up is a Scales of Conviction vote. So we do try to take the default position in the votes where possible, because it's faster. We don't need to convince anyone. There are specific spots where we will be convincing someone who is usually the swing vote to go the way that we want them to. In this vote, it is a default vote, which is also the faster of the 2 options, just because we want to go to either Hyzant or Esfros. If we choose to go to Hyzant, the battle will be a defeat boss win condition as opposed to defeat all enemies if we go to Esfros. So unfortunately we can't skip this little cutscene here where they put all their votes in, but it's still nice that we don't have to convince anyone. So convictions in this game specifically do not matter in New Game Plus. We've got maxed out convictions, and those are morality, utility, and liberty. So they usually help Serenoa in convincing other members to vote a specific way, depending on how you vote. So in the top right there, you would have seen the morality stat go up there, but we don't need to worry about that, thankfully, in New Game Plus. We're mostly trying to memorize where the map setups on battles and how specific units move. So this next map will be over pretty quickly. Like I said, it is a defeat boss map. He is an ice mage as well, which makes him especially susceptible to Frederica's fire. And we've also given her a little boost to her Blazing Chains ability as well, which does a little bit more damage, which is actually enough to kill him in 1 hit. Something that I haven't explained is the additional menu there. So that is called the Quietus menu. Quietuses are basically abilities that you as the player get to use before a unit will act. So a lot of the Quietuses that we use a light wave, which will let you teleport a unit from one spot up to 10, no, not 10, I think it's 8 spaces away. And then the other ones that get used as well is in tandem, which lets you move a unit, choose another unit to move after the current unit's turn. There's also fleet-footed, which gives an extra 2 movement on top of a unit's base movement, so it allows you to move around a lot quicker. Other ones that get used as well is Battle Cry, so that grants 3 TP, so the max TP that a player will have, a unit will have is 5, and then you do start with 3 TP. 5 is often what is required for some ultimate abilities for units, and we don't often need any more than that. So we're just here in the Roselle village here, that's in the Wolfett domain in here, so we're just giving a brief visit and looking into Frederica's and Zeronor's wedding, and they're actually making a dress for her. Going back to the Quietus, so the other ones that we use is Missed Opportunity, which stops an enemy unit from moving. And the last one, I believe, is Critical Blow, which allows you to have a guaranteed crit on your next hit, regardless of whether or not you hit a unit by the back or not. So here in the story, we are exploring the mines, having a bit of a chat to Dragan there, an NPC. He's the first NPC that we come across here, and we will be using him. Hopefully he does what we need him to. There is a little bit of RNG involved. Couple of extra units that we'll be introducing here as well. So we'll be using Piccoletta and... hold on, let me get... so Milo, Medina, Piccoletta here. Apologies. People are not in the right spots now. Accidentally got rid of Frederica. There we go. The Dragan is also a fire mage, and I'll be explaining his position in just a moment. So we are doing a similar thing to most setups where we'll be using the Sunfall strat to get rid of this northern group of enemies. And we're going to be using Benedict's now in just a moment to proc that up. So we've got Milo here. She is a very fast character. She has a lot of mobility. She'll often be throwing items to different enemies. So the reason why we do this specific strat is to try and get Dragan to kill off that archer there. Otherwise, he's one of the remaining enemies that will live. We've got Medina here. She often is an item thrower. Here we're using her double items ability, which lets her kind of like act twice with Anna, but with items. And we've got good RNG. So we've got Piccoletta here. She is another item tosser. She does get a bonus to her abilities where she deals more damage if she's dealing a damaging item. So that is chapter 4 done. The next couple maps will be going by pretty quickly. They all have different win conditions on them. So the next win condition is to get Roland to the end of the map. In game, in the story, we are traveling back to Glenbrook Castle since we were ambushed by these Frosty soldiers, and they've said that, you know, they're going to take over Glenbrook Castle. So Roland is worried about his family and what is happening right now in the city. So we'll be trying to get back in there to find out what's going on, and this is the first one where it's a different, well, no, we had the other one, no. This is a different win condition where we just need to get across the line here. So we need to get rid of all these units here because they move faster than Roland. And we're going to be using Benedict's twofold turn here just to get Roland across the map. So completing this map casually, there will be a bunch of reinforcements if you break down the fence there. So So because we use Light Wave, we can just completely ignore that. And we can use Fleet-footed here as well, just to give him a bit of an extra boost. We're going to be using Roland's additional movement ability here, Rush, just so that we can get him across the line and to the finish line. So the unfortunate thing that happens here is that Roland comes just in time to see Gustadolph, who is the leader of the Frost, cut down the king, so his dad, and his brother, leaving his sister captured. So we realize that we are outnumbered and we're going to be escaping Glenbrook Castle now. And this map is also another fairly quick map, so we need to get rid of all of the enemies in the end section of the bridge. There is a gate that is blocking the way, so the game wants you to use the lever and open the gate so that we can get across. If we do that though, there will be reinforcement, which means there are 5 enemies in the end area as opposed to 2. So we're going to be utilizing Light Wave again. Need Frederica to move again, and twice. So this is the area that they want us to clear the enemies out of up here. So without using that lever, it's a nice and quick map for us. So just a little optimization is to be pressing the fast forward button after cutscenes. It doesn't work for every specific cutscene, but for most, if you press the fast forward button, there's a couple of extra frames of fade out. And that actually counts for, I think, up to maybe 5 minutes total in the course of the entire run. So if you don't do that, then you'll be wasting a bit of time there. So yeah, pretty much after every battle and cutscene, you can be pressing the fast forward button. So it's just a little skip that you can be doing, which adds up to a lot. So coming up, we have a important Scales of Conviction vote. So this vote is important if you're going for the golden route. It is the same whether you're going for the golden route or for a regular route, just because the map after this one is faster, which we'll get to afterwards. But we want to convince Benedict to keep Roland here. So the choices are to keep Roland safe in the Wolford domain or give him up to the Frosty army. So we want to defend Roland here, and we'll be utilizing the secret weapon that we have in the Wolford domain. So the reason why this is a key vote is that if we decide to keep Roland, we need to not use the fire traps. That's for the golden ending. But because we're doing Roland's ending, we can use the fire traps freely, which is a slightly different setup to the golden path, and it's also faster as well. So we're going to be introducing a couple of new characters again. So something that I haven't... No, I brought them up. Yeah, so we'll be using Julio, which is similar to Medina in that he gives TP to characters. But the other new characters are Quahog, Maxwell, and Giovanna. So we'll be using those characters in a very specific way, and we'll be tempting enemies to go into the fire trap before we set them off. And I'll explain those units in just a moment. Okay, so we have a lot of enemies in this map. Once we kill, I think, 5 enemies, there will be a set of reinforcements that appear and another one that will appear after that. So there will be 2 sets of reinforcements total, which we don't want. So what we want to do is move. Oh, hold on. Sorry, I put 2-4 turn on character. Yeah. So the reason why we use the fire traps is that it will remove all current enemy units with the same attack, and that means that no reinforcements will turn up. Sorry. So we have Quahog here. And he is a time mage. He can move units around, both enemy and friendly units. And he does have time stop as well, which we will be using later on. We've got Maxwell here, which is Roland's mentor. And we'll be using his ultimate here to deal a bunch of damage. And that will also get rid of that enemy, which we need as well. So we're just moving Quahog in place here to move Avlora out of the way, because if we don't, then she will move out of the traps. And we're going to give Giovanni here some TP as well. So at this point, we're just waiting for all the enemies to move into position. Serenor does nothing in this map. There are certain times where, unfortunately, we don't need a physical attacker, and he doesn't have enough utility to warrant using him anywhere else. He is a forced deploy pretty much on every map, so we can't get rid of him in favor for not using him. And here we're going to activate 2 traps at once, because everyone is in the right position here to get rid of them. So that's that map all done. And like I said before this one, so the chapter 8 fight, so we're heading into chapter 8 now. If we choose to not defend Roland, it would be a longer map, which is defeat all enemies. So because we chose to defend Roland, we get an offer from House Telior, which is he's a little bit slimy. He's just looking out for himself. So he's saying, "Hey, I'll look after Roland for you." And we don't trust him one bit. So because we don't trust him, we're like, "Nah, we're not gonna disagree with your plans. So we'll just keep looking after Roland ourselves." And he ends up coming up to storm the gates because he was actually working for Esros all along. Another skip vote, which is nice. And yeah, so the next fight is a defeat 1 enemy map. That enemy's name is Rufus. He turns up quite frequently. In old routes, we would actually fight Rufus 3 times, in 3 times total. But I think we only fight him once in this. Once or twice. No, yeah, twice. Yeah, we fight him twice. So there are, like I said, because this is a tactics game, there are similarities to other tactical RPGs. So if you attack a unit from the back, you deal more damage. There's also increased accuracy as well. Instead of magic points MP, you have TP. So you have, like I said, 5 pips. And you start with 3 and you regain 1 at the start of your turn. So not at the start, but once your turn comes around again, you regain 1. But there are ways to get more TP, which is through Medina or Julio, who are your TP batteries. So here we're going to be moving Frederica up here and chipping down Rufus. Unfortunately, Blazing Chains is not enough damage to kill him outright. And the thing is, he only ever walks forward and has a chat with Frederica. He doesn't do anything else. He's still defeated really easily, though, which is The game also has a lot of autosaves, so it's very marathon friendly. So if we mess up like I did in the Chapter 7 fight, we can load the autosave, or if there was an issue with my positioning of one of the units, we can retreat out of that map and reset the units that we need to, and then start the map again. So happening in the story right now is we are faking Roland's death so that we can throw off any more Frosty army coming after us. So there's an important cutscene coming up where we have to watch Roland put on a hat and mask. He's donning the disguise of Maxwell, so don't even worry that we've got 2 Maxwells in the party, everyone. It is what it is. So, we're coming up to Chapter 9 now, which is another Scales of Conviction vote. So, we are given the option from Sorsley. We've sought the help of Hyzant. So, Sorsley has given us the option to illegally deliver some salt for him on the down low, or we can decide to snitch on him and head back to Hyzant and reveal his secrets to the Saintly Seven, which are the leading force in Hyzant. So Sorsley is one of the Saintly Seven. He's in charge of the salt, and the decision here is to go to Hyzant and find some clues and find some information in order to get information out of it to prove he isn't actually, doing what's right according to the goddess's teachings. So on our way to Hyzant, we actually get ambushed by Booker, who is one of Sorsley's underlings. And he doesn't trust that we're doing the right thing because we've told Sorsley that we're going to deliver, but in actual fact, we're traveling to Hyzant. So he ambushes us along the way, and we pretty much have to get rid of him. So this next map is a defeat all enemies map. But the reason why we go this path is that it is faster than the alternate version of heading to Esfros and delivering that salt. Going to be introducing one of my favorite characters here. I'll just make sure everyone is in place before I explain who that is. Decimal here. He is a mathematician, I guess, similar to in Final Fantasy Tactics. He is a barrel, and I love him. So he has the ability to hit a lot of enemy units here, and we'll be making him move a couple of times in order to do that. So we're just moving a couple enemies in place that are just a little bit out of place here. We're going to use fast acting medication, which is like now on Medina. And going to give everyone here a bit of TP. So here we go. He can target 5, which targets almost the entire map. And we're also going to move a couple of other of our units around just to finish off some enemies that won't be killed off in Decimal's next hit here. Hold on, in tandem. Almost forgot. Yeah, so we're going to give Decimal all of this TP here so he can do target 5 again. And that's most of the map cleared up. So just a couple of stragglers that we need to finish up here. So healer, and there's a couple of units up north here, which we'll be finishing up with Frederica. Alright, so this next map for the longest time was not fast. There's an additional cutscene that we can't skip, and usually there's a sequence of questions and answers that we would have gone through. So we can either find all of the correct clues and choose to answer Benedict's questions correctly and give the correct evidence about Sorsley, or we can choose incorrectly. So this next map has only recently, I think within the last couple of months, been added to the route as faster. All of our clues and information that we had previously has rolled over, so we don't need to worry about any of this. We have all the information we need, and we are going to be going to Sorsley's encampment to find a secret ledger to reveal his wrongdoings. So this next map, all of the enemies are clumped up really nicely for us to use Sunfall and to use a lot of fire pellets as well, just to clear out the map as well. So here's that cutscene I was talking about that we can't skip, which was longer than doing a bunch of questions that we used to have. Just a little bit of setup here. Okay. We're going to be using Sunfall on that big group up the top there, which is technically the boss for this map. And one Sunfall is not enough to kill him, so we just need to chip him down with Anna here. And everyone else will be really quick as well. So the enemies don't move fast enough, and we can just chip everyone down here with fire pellets. Nice cross section here. And just using Roland's rush ability again here just to kill off those two. So now that we have proof that Sorsley is dealing in illegal salt trade, the Saintly Seven have decided that he is no longer fit to be one of the Saintly Seven, one of them, and have removed him from his seat. So because of that, they've actually offered that seat to us, to Serenoa specifically. And we have been invited to Hyzant, to the source specifically, to look after the salt. So this is where we learn that in Hyzant, it's not as perfect as they tout it to be. So they actually use the Roselle as slaves here, and they are saying that the Roselle need to atone for their sins against the goddess. So they have to work in the source, gathering salt for everyone. And they have made a request of us. So we have the Roselle in the village, and they have requested that we return the Roselle in the Warfoot domain to them to prove our loyalty. So we do want to actually defend the Roselle. Not only is it the morally correct choice, but it is also the fast choice because we don't need to convince anyone to do it. And the reason why we do that is because chapter 12 essentially becomes a nothing chapter. It becomes just an exploration phase. We skip an entire battle because of it. We'll be introducing another NPC here. So his name is Jerome. We unfortunately can't get him as a playable character. And there is a little bit of RNG involved in this map as well, where we don't want Jerome to actually talk to Frederica. So if he stands close to her, he'll strike up a conversation, which is a little bit slower. So just doing some setup here. Milo. Archibald. Okay, so I think I haven't really explained Archibald. He is an archer. He has the highest range of all the archers, so he's really useful. And he's got pretty high accuracy as well. One of his downfalls is that he doesn't have a lot of movement, but we don't really need him to move anywhere. So this map here has been updated also again fairly recently. So we actually won't be using a full Sunfall strat here. We're going to be using a 3 TP Sunfall. And the reason is we're going to be using Decimal's math skill. So he has target 3, target 4 as well. So we need all enemies to have a HP value that can be multiplied by 3. And there are there's just one set of reinforcements that turn up here. So once we defeat 5 enemies, those reinforcements will turn up, but we don't want that. So we're just going to be chipping down a bunch of these enemies here. We can kill a couple, that's not a problem. We just can't kill 5. Sorry. This is the RNG I was talking about. Sorry, I need to reset this. I didn't move Coletta far down enough. My apologies. Yeah, so we'll be using Decimal to defeat all enemies with the same attack in order for him to wipe out all the enemies and not call in reinforcements. So Benedict can technically reach Frederica up the top there, but the reason why we move him down is that it's one less spot that Jerome can possibly walk down to and have a chat with her. It doesn't always work, as you would have seen in that last one. Okay, so if I do the correct thing... Yeah, so I need to move Piccoletta all the way down here. There we go. Yeah, and then we got the good Jerome RNG there. So now, last little bit here is we need to chip down Rufus a little bit more and make Decimal move next. So after this, all the enemies should die, and that will be the end of the map. Alright, so like I said before, because we chose this specific map, Chapter 12 is a exploration phase. We're supposed to be looking for clues in the Rosellan village, and we find that there is actually some salt hidden in the village. So salt is a really big deal in this game. It's scarce, and according to Hyzant, only found at the source. So because we have found this lump of salt, which we're about to present, we have a proof that salt exists outside of the source. So there's been wars over salt, and salt's pretty important. Flavors your food, preserves it. Yeah, it's a big deal. So there is a lot of cutscene skipping happening, and that's because, yeah, we basically skipped an entire battle. The interesting thing about the next Scales of Conviction vote, which is coming up, it's the first 3-way vote that we have in the game. And again, luckily for us, it's a default vote. I'll explain what will happen as it comes along. But basically, we're getting into a bit more story where we find out that some of the things that are happening behind the scenes. So we're given a secret weapon as well by Hyzant, and they said, hey, you can use this however you want. And it's a bomb that they give us, which is super dangerous. So we're given the choice to destroy the dam and flood the city, or destroy the bridge and trap the Esfrosty forces inside the castle. And the last option is to destroy the warship to stop any kind of escape. So the option that we're choosing here is to destroy the dam. It is a really fast map just because the option is to remove all enemy units in the last area. So we'll be using Quahog to do that. The unfortunate thing is that there is it makes it have an unskippable cutscene later on. But it is one of the maps that was figured out really, really early on in terms of the speedrun itself, and has pretty much remained unchanged other than some slight optimizations with where we place Quahog. So we're just doing a bit of exploring. The game wants you to go in and turn off a bunch of lamps because we're heading in at night and they want us to be super sneaky. But we're not going to bother doing any of that. We're just going to leave the lights on because we don't really care about them. And the funny thing with movement with Lightwave is that if the unit hasn't taken its turn and they're standing in the light, the enemy still can't see them. So we'll have what was that move? What was that moment from the guard that we walked past? So we're just going to be using twofold turn here again with Benedict. And we're going to Lightwave directly into the light here. Don't worry. Even though he should technically see us, he doesn't because we haven't taken our turn yet. So we step outside of the range. We don't call any reinforcements. And we take out this enemy here with Quahog. And we're done. This is one of my favorite maps, just because of how quick it is and how silly I think it is. There's a bunch of different ways that you can get the enemy out there. So you can use Jens, who's a different character, to use a trap to push them out the way. You could also just kill him if you wanted to. But yeah, using Quahog to get that enemy out of the way is still one of my favorite parts of this game. So here's the unskippable cutscene I was talking about. So unfortunately, we have to see this wave destroy the city and the castle. This next fight is defeat 2 boss enemies, so Thalos and Erica, who are both terrible people. They're Frederica's brother and sister, they're twins, and when you see their portraits, you can see that they are very evil. They're like obvious evil characters. So this is where we'll be using Roland here to be doing a lot of the boss killing. He has the highest physical single target damaging attack. And unfortunately, Frederica's abilities is not going to be cutting it anymore. Oop, there we go. Okay, so that was chapter 14. We are heading into chapter 15 now, which is a second 3-way vote. So both Benedict, Roland, and Frederica all want to do something separately. So Benedict wants us to head back to the Warfoot domain to check on our dad. Frederica wants to head back to the Roselle village, which is now empty. The Roselle decided to head back to the source on their own, because we basically promised them that we would try and make their lives better and look after them. And Roland wants us to stay in the Crown City so that we can help him figure out the corruption that's actually happening there and to sort out the citizens and things like that. So this is not a default vote. We do need to convince someone to go our way. So in this specific case, it will be Anna. And we actually want to stay in the Crown City. So this is where Frederica and Benedict will temporarily leave us while they go to their own respective paths. And the reason why we are we're staying in the Crown City is because this is the only fight where it is a defeat boss win condition. All of the other ones are defeat all enemies. There we go. They have left party there. And we are going to do a couple of re-equips here. So we no longer need Frederica with the Vanguard Scarf. So it's pretty convenient timing for us to move around accessories that they no longer have. So we'll be re-equipping that with Quahog and letting him move first in a lot of maps. He is very useful because, like I said, he can move enemy units around, which gets them into position for us to do what we need to do to clear the map quickly. So we'll be fighting Telior here. Telior? Silvio. What's his name? I can't remember his name. Yeah, we'll be getting Cordelia, Roland's sister here. Okay, so we just need to adjust and the Vanguard Scarf, and we need to re-equip Mila here as well because we need her to have some extra movement in a later chapter. So this map, although it looks huge and there's lots of enemies here, we only need to defeat our Patriatte. His name's Patriatte. We need to defeat Patriatte, and that will be the end of this specific round. So we just need to get him into place here. Now, this is one of the times that we don't want Roland to do an opportune attack. So when he moves 5 or more spaces, he can do a little chip attack to enemies. We don't want him to do that because he will strike up a conversation with Patriatte, which is slower. So we move Patriatte in that specific spot so that it doesn't trigger that conversation. Alright, we're heading into the last quarter for the game here. We're going to be heading into chapter 16. We're heading to the mines. So since we've been gone and traveling around everywhere, they've expanded the mining situation quite a bit. So it's gotten a lot bigger, and we need to find out why the S-Frosty are there, basically. And as you can see, Benedict and Frederica have rejoined our party. So with the mines map coming up, it is a lot bigger. They've put minecarts in there now, which is a little bit of fun. So when you go into the map itself, it is fairly difficult casually. I really hated the map when I was going through it, like in my first couple of playthroughs, before I started speedrunning. Because there are two enemy reinforcements that turn up, and they're very far away from each other, and you don't really know when they turn up. So this is the first time where we'll be using the baseline strat here. This baseline strat uses Azana and Quahog. So we'll be using Quahog's stop time here, and Azana's ultimate ability, called Rite of Thunderstorms, which will hit all enemies with a thunder attack. Let's just get some setup done. We need to re-equip Benedict. So, what we need to do is chip down any enemies with high magic defense. We're just going to give Azana a little bit of a speed boost here. But the point of this strat is to defeat all the enemies with the same single attack. And any mages, so there's these mages here, will just need to be chipped down a little bit in order for the attack to kill them in one turn. And the fun thing is that we actually chipped down that swordsman there by running him over with a minecart. And that's actually enough damage to pretty much focus on the other one there and not have to worry about doing anything else to that one. Archers we don't need to worry about. Any shield bearers we don't need to worry about. They're heavily armored and have low magic defense. And we're just going to move all the way up here. And these two mages also need to be chipped down here. Okay, so we'll be starting doing that now. So we need to boost Azana's magic attack by using Rite of Rain. So Rite of Rain will boost any thunder attacks for all enemies and friendly units. We are stopping time here, so that stops time for everyone as well, but we're getting Azana back up by using turn back time. And now, the reason why we're using Azana's ultimate with Quahog stop time is that Azana has her ability has a 30% chance to hit on all enemy units, and it also needs a turn to charge. So if all enemy units are stopped during this section, that 30% becomes 100%, and they will all die. We also just did a little bit of an extra boost as well, so we gave Azana an enchanting spice, which is an item which boosts her magic attack. So all of these things in tandem make it enough so that she can, has enough damage to, defeat everyone. Alright, so we are coming up to chapter 17. It is another vote where we need to decide whose ending we are going for. It's where we also are facing the menu boss. So every time we go to the save screen, we are basically mashing the same thing, which is skip. Please don't save. And for chapter 17, it is the opposite of what they want us to do. They're like, do you want to save? As opposed to, and it automatically goes to the yes option, and we don't want that. But here we'll be going to the last three-way conviction vote here. And we will be pausing the vote to tie, and then deciding to go for Roland's vote. So if we choose to convince more than one person, it is slower. So we only want to convince someone who will tie the vote. There we go. Yeah, we only want to convince someone who will tie the vote and then proceed. We need to have a chat with Eridor here. And the thing with these non-golden endings is that someone will leave the party. So in this specific case, that will be Frederica. So Roland's ending is that he sides with Hyzan, basically, and wants to destroy Esros. So he can't get over that they came and took over Glenbrook and have basically destroyed his family. So he wants revenge and he wants to get rid of Esros. So Frederica is understandably upset because they don't care about the Roselle and only she cares about them, and has decided to leave us. The thing is that Roland's ending is so fast because her departure is really quick. She says goodbye and leaves the party. The reason why this ending is also the fastest is because out of the 3 remaining fights, 2 of them are a defeat boss win condition, and 1 is a defeat all enemies. Whereas in all of the other endings, only one of those endings is a defeat one boss, and the rest are defeat all enemies. So, the first the next map coming up is really going to be really quick as well. We need to defeat Sycras, who has come up a couple times. You may recognize him from chapter 13. Yeah, you may recognize him from chapter 13. So he's defending Twinsgate. We just need to defeat him with Roland. So using very similar tactics before, where we will just in tandem Roland to make him move next, use light waves to move him to where we need him to be, and we will be just need to move him up here. Using Battle Cry as well, just to give him some more TP. Okay, Battle Cry. I moved him a bit too far, that's okay. So chapter 19, which is the second fight in the last remaining 3, is one of the longest maps. We will be using part of the baseline strat, so Kazana Quahog combo, to do a lot of damage. Unfortunately, it isn't enough to defeat all enemies, but the reason why we use that specific strat is that it is faster than defeating all enemies one by one. So this map is difficult because it is very large. So there's a lot of space to cover, and there is no limit on her ultimate, so that's the reason why we also use it. Okay, let me adjust who's here. Who else do we need? No, we just need to remove people. Okay. Yep. Okay. So you'll see in a second how big this. Yep. Yeah, it's a huge map. So we just want to chip down a lot of the enemies that have, again, high magic defense. And we'll be using a very similar strat to before. So the difference is that we're going to be using Anna to move all the way up here. And we're going to be using items to chip down that group there. While there's no actual reinforcements in this map, it's still beneficial to do the map this specific way. And this is the reason why we gave Milo the movement bangle, is so that she can actually reach this little group of enemies as well. And from this point, it doesn't actually matter if we get damaged by enemies. They won't do enough damage to kill anyone or do anything, really. The only last thing that we need to do is just chip down that mage, that healer on top of that ledge there with Archibald here. And Serenoa does nothing, and we just need to override this blizzard with some rain. And pretty much everything else is the same up until that point. So we use stop time and turn back time. The only thing is that we do need to wait for the stop time to wear off from everyone once it does, before we can do anything else, because we haven't chipped down any damage off of Gustadolph. At the top here, he's still on full health, so we'll be using Anna to finish him off at the end. This song has a lot of, this game has a lot of great music, by the way. Sorry, I'm pressing the wrong buttons. Enchanting Spice, there we go. So that's all the enemies except for Goose that have cleared up. So now we just need to wait for stop time, like I said, to wear off from everyone. And yeah, surprisingly, this is faster than defeating all of the enemies individually. So So once it gets to Benedict's turn, we're going to be using twofold turn on Anna, and then we're going to be just throwing a bunch of, oops, we're just going to be throwing a bunch of fire pellets at him so that he can, yeah, we defeat him. So time will be coming up in very, very shortly. So I think within the next two minutes, while Roland takes to skip through this and the cutscene. So this next map we will be fighting Svarog. He is the final boss for this specific map, so he's pretty upset that we've decided to come to Azeroth and destroy his nation. He's also upset about his son, Dragan, who I didn't mention this before, but he did die in the mines after the Chapter 4 fight. So yeah, we're going to be using Roland to finish him off here, and time will come when the victory screen turns up at the end. So we just need to get Roland and Quahog in place here, because we will be doing, again, very similar strat by moving him into place. So yeah, he starts off pretty far off, but that won't matter. We can move him into place with Distorted Space and Fleet-footed, so we just need to do Roland. And the other thing here as well is that there is a chance that Roland will miss the attack. I can't remember what the percentage is. 96. It's 96% chance, so there's a 4% chance he'll miss. Okay, he didn't this time. Has a slight monologue, and that's time. So that was Triangle Strategy, New Game Plus. I will skip ahead to the ending cutscene here, or maybe just to the credits, just to have something going on in the background. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Triangle Strategy is probably still one of my favorite games since I picked it up last year. It's really fun. It has a great story, and I definitely would recommend everyone to play through if they do decide to pick up Triangle Strategy casually first, just to experience the story by themselves. The speedrun I really enjoy as well. And I don't think I have anything else to say. Thank you. We'll just skip ahead to the end.